Morning, guys. It's Thursday, July 17th, 5:24 a.m. Central Time. Grain markets are mixed to lower this morning. Pretty quiet overnight trade. December corn futures down 1.5 at 422.5. November soybeans down 1.5 at 1019. December Chicago wheat down 3 at 558 and 3/4. December Kansas City wheat down 2.5 at 542 and 3/4. December spring wheat up a quarter cent at 620 and a quarter. We've got some news about the president, Coca-Cola, and high fructose corn syrup to start. Why don't we go there?
So, according to President Trump, Coca-Cola plans to start using real cane sugar in its beverages sold in the U.S. In a post on Truth Social, Trump praised the company's move to ditch high fructose corn syrup and instead use real cane sugar. Coca-Cola, however, has not yet released an official statement confirming the change. Cane sugar is already used in Coca-Cola products in several other countries, including the UK and Mexico. The move would align with the Trump administration's broader initiative to reduce processed ingredients in the American food and beverage supply. In recent years, approximately 3% of the U.S. corn crop has been used to produce high fructose corn syrup.
I don't drink pop anymore, but when I did, I always thought the Mexican Coke with the real sugar tasted
Mhm.
better. And first of all, Mackenzie, you call it pop or do you call it soda?
I call it pop.
Oh, good for you. If you call it soda, that's unfortunate. But in any case, so this is part of the Make America Healthy Again campaign, I suppose. And that was mandated by the people through the vote. This is an interesting chart that the Energy Department had on its website, and it's actually interactive. You can kind of play around with it, and you can see what percentage of U.S. corn usage actually goes to high fructose corn syrup. I made a better one, and I just did 2023, so you guys can see the percentages. So in 2023, and I don't know why they didn't do this by marketing year. It's the Energy Department. I guess they don't know how this stuff all works. But in any case, 2.8% of all corn demand went to high fructose corn syrup. 2.8% sounds very low, but the actual number, 410 million bushels, is actually not low. Now, this will never happen. But if you went into a situation where all corn demand for high fructose corn syrup totally disappeared, that would be a problem. Just to put this in context, analysts had been begging USDA to increase the corn export number by 100 million bushels recently, and that was a big deal. So if 100 million is a big deal, 410 is a very big deal, especially when you're talking about a corn carryout that's, 1.3, 1.4 billion bushels. I mean, you're talking about a third ballpark of the carryout. Pardon my math, but I mean it's a substantial amount of corn. I just I don't know what will actually happen here. Is Coca-Cola can actually do this? It sounds like they haven't really said much. I know that Pepsi in the past has made some attempts to do similar things, and Pete Meyer tells me that American taste buds just don't change like this, and that people are just comfortable with their high fructose corn syrup the way it sounds. So I don't know. It's an interesting headline. Does it have any impact at all on corn demand? Probably not. I figured we'd start the show with this today because it's something that's just a little bit different than our normal boring nonsense. Speaking of normal boring nonsense, let's go to the soybean market.
Soybean futures surged yesterday, driven by renewed optimism around export demand. The November 25 contract gained nearly 19 cents, settling at roughly 10.21 per bushel. A modest flash sale of U.S. soybeans to an unknown buyer sparked speculation among traders that the buyer could be China, as the country is behind its usual pace for new crop purchases. Additional support came from news earlier this week that a trade deal with Indonesia had been reached, which includes a commitment to increase purchases of U.S. agricultural goods. Corn futures also advanced, with the December 25 contract gaining 4 cents to close at 4.24 per bushel.
So to go to the flash sale, it's not a big amount, but China hasn't bought anything officially for new crop delivery. And it was around this time last year that they started to buy soybeans for new crop delivery out of the United States. So if this was China, it would make a lot of sense. Looking at the chart, we've fallen a long way, and now we've kind of come back up just a little bit. We're back above that kind of support shelf or that previous support shelf in the 1005 type neighborhood. You've still got a gap on the charts on the November contract from a couple Sundays ago when we came in with some bearish tariff and weather stuff. Ideally, you get back up and fill that gap, which I think is in like the 1040s. We've also got some kind of feel good headlines with regard to China that we're going to get to here in just a little bit. Let's go to weather.
Weather forecasts are mostly wet for the U.S. Corn Belt. Based on Euro model data, our friends at Crop Profit estimate that U.S. corn areas will see 142% of their normal rainfall over the next 7 days. The same model calls for 88% of normal rainfall during the 8 to 14 day period. Heat could become an issue as temperatures are slated to run above normal this weekend and into next week. Temperatures could be even warmer during the 8 to 14 day period. There has been some concern regarding hot and humid nights in the eastern Corn Belt as of late.
All right, so it looks like plenty of rain, and as we've discussed recently, the rainfall amounts, if anything, at this point, could be detrimental, and that's a blanket statement regarding the Corn Belt. I understand there are dry areas, as there always are. The great Eric Snodgrass, who was on X, posted this the other day. With the forecast returning heat as we work through the rest of July, I wanted to show a map of average low temperature ranks from June 16th to July 14th. We've had some hot, humid nights across the eastern Corn Belt through the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and I don't anticipate much different as we finish July. So this is one of those Iowa State Mesonet maps, which are absolutely fantastic. And when you see like the 1 and the 2s and the 3s in Illinois and Ohio and Indiana, that means that during this period from June 16th through July 14th, that was like the number one is the warmest average low on average over the last 133 years. And when you're talking average low, you're talking about the overnight low, because that's when the lowest temperatures of the day occur, of course. And we've always been told, any agronomist will tell you overnight temperatures are a big deal during the pollination period in particular. And if the overnight temperatures are too hot or too warm, it presents a problem. So the people in Ohio and Indiana that started off really wet and then they kind of turned dry. So now you've seen these warmer overnight lows. This is perhaps problematic. So it's not a perfect growing season. I know a lot of the trade and you look at the corn market, we rallied a little bit, but it still seems to be acting like it's a perfect growing season. It's not. Where do we end up yield wise? I don't know. As I mentioned before, I think the market is trading some pretty damn big yields right now, but that could change. It's a fluid situation.
If you guys have not checked out our premium content, you sure need to do so. Joe, can you tell our viewers about yesterday's premium video with Matt Bennett?
Matt was on yesterday. We did 20 questions. It was actually like 35 questions. Will corn revisit the spring insurance guarantee price? That was one of the questions. We had a whole bunch of grain marketing type stuff. We talked a little bit about social media. We talked about some of the big companies out there throwing out yield estimates and why perhaps that is problematic or not problematic. Earlier this week, Pete Meyer was on. We talked about 45Z RVOs, the farm economy. With regard to 45Z, there's a lot of questions, and there is, in my opinion, a ton of misinformation out there. Do you need to pay for carbon scoring? We give you the actual real answer and the facts behind that. If you guys want to see the premium stuff, go to standardgrain.com. You can sign up this morning. This is a $50 per month subscription. You can cancel at any time. There's no other fee, no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. We just want to send you info every day. We do a free show here on YouTube every morning and on the podcast apps. It's all free. But the only way that that's possible is through the premium subscriptions because, Mackenzie, what percentage of the U.S. population cares what corn prices do every day? 1%?
Maybe.
No, it's like 100th of 1%.
Right.
And I shouldn't say the US, I should say the world, but it's very, very small. So we'll never be big enough on social media to ever like really make money doing this. So the premium sub is what floats the boat for us. Premium subs, we love you to death. If you are not a premium sub, you should give it a shot.
President Trump has softened his approach to China as he seeks a trade deal and a potential meeting with President Xi Jinping. Rather than sticking to his harsh campaign rhetoric, he's now focused on securing short-term purchase agreements instead of addressing long-term trade imbalances. Administration officials are negotiating a deal in which China would purchase unspecified U.S. goods and services. The shift has stirred tensions within Trump's team, with some advisors warning it could come at the cost of national security. A recent policy reversal that allows NVIDIA to resume sales of less advanced chips to China has amplified those concerns. Meanwhile, the U.S. is considering extending a 90-day tariff truce set to expire on August 12th.
I think this is part of the reason the beans rallied yesterday. So you had that flash sale that could have been China. Now you've got kind of a softer tone. Scott Bessent reportedly told China that they don't need to worry about the tariff deadline, that they're separate from the other 150 countries and that this stuff is not necessarily going to apply to them. So the soybean market and traders are very interested in the U.S.-China relationship. Will China buy new crop U.S. soybeans? Yeah, I think that they will. But we need to start seeing the purchases. And hopefully yesterday was a start.
U.S. ethanol production increased last week. Weekly output of 1.09 million barrels per day was up marginally on the week, but down 1.7% versus the same week last year. Ethanol stocks declined for the third consecutive week, totaling 23.64 million barrels. The print was down 1.4% compared to the previous week, but up 2.1% versus the same week last year. According to Reuters data, U.S. ethanol production margins remain healthy.
Yeah, margins are healthy because corn is cheap. Production is very strong, and I have nothing to say that's bad about this. The stocks number is a little bit higher than we'd like it to be, but I mean, all in all, it's pretty good. We've heard of some basis pushes. I mean, there's some processors that are really bidding up for corn, especially in the Eastern Corn Belt and even in the Central and Western Corn Belt. I think we firmed up just slightly. If you guys have some outstanding basis stuff to report, drop it in the YouTube comments.
President Trump says he has no plans to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The denial followed reports that he floated the idea during a private meeting with Republican lawmakers. While Trump called Powell's removal highly unlikely, he added that it could happen if Powell were found guilty of fraud. Removing Powell would likely spark a legal battle, as the law protects Fed officials from being dismissed without cause. Trump has continued to criticize Powell for not cutting interest rates and has called for a reduction of 3 percentage points to lower federal borrowing costs. Trump and his allies have taken aim at the cost of renovating the Fed's Washington headquarters, calling it excessive and potentially grounds for dismissal.
Trump hates Powell now, but Trump appointed Powell. I believe it was in 2017.
Yep.
So I don't know. The Treasury markets went nuts for a minute on this news. This was the initial headline. Bloomberg reported this yesterday in the morning. Trump likely to fire Powell soon. White House officials said he can't actually fire him unless he's got cause, I guess, like you mentioned, the fraud thing. Like, I mean, I don't know that they're going to be able to prove that Powell did anything wrong. In any case, I don't know that this is a story. Trump wants lower interest rates, but we've also seen some just slight upticks in inflation, which probably doesn't support that idea. What did cattle do yesterday?
Cattle futures were higher. Live cattle were $122 to $187 higher. Feeders saw gains ranging from $330 to $390. Box beef prices continued their seasonal decline. Choice was down $487 at $372.85, and Select was down $467 at $357.91.
Outside markets quiet this morning. The Dow's off 60 points. The S&P's up 3. Treasuries are mixed. U.S. dollars a little bit higher. Crude oil is up 34 cents in the August WTI at 66.72. Have a great day, guys. We'll be back on Friday.